Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more. Everybody's working for the weekend. Taking care of business every day. Now it's wow, welcome to the working week.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
Minimum wage.
Okay, you're tuning in to the Working Lunch here, and we're getting a kickoff here right at noontime, as we usually do. No intro song this week.
But
Apparently
we got a
there was
great
glitch.
show. Maybe because we took the month off last month.
We
We
took
had
the month
summer
off, got a
off.
little
you
lazy,
know.
I guess, going out to the beach, and
Yep.
somewhere along the line,
Cookouts,
a little
barbecues.
glitch in the intro. Did you want to try to recover that, Dr. Bob? Make it official?
When we find it, we'll do it.
Okay, and now we're in a.
That's
in
a nice
state of-
song, though.
That is a nice song.
That is a nice
Yeah.
song.
That may be the new intro, maybe.
The new intro to the Working Lunch.
to the Working Lunch. So
The wonders of live radio, right?
You guys would be able to harmonize with that really good.
yes, and I know that you're trying to get me to start.
I thought you were about to.
I
saw
was
you
so
going
tempted
for
to.
it.
Yeah, he's going for it.
I was about to.
It doesn't take too much.
So welcome
No,
back to the studio, Bob.
Yeah, welcome back.
Well,
Bob.
welcome.
How's
Good to
vacation?
see you.
How's
Vacation, permanent vacation.
How was vacation? Some people were saying, hey, I got a long weekend coming up. And I told them, every weekend's a long weekend.
Ah, that must be nice.
Don't
Yes.
rub it in. Don't
Sailing? What have you been doing?
The lake's been kind of flat.
Looks like
The
you got
last
some
couple of
color.
rub it in. Fishing, doing
Last
some
couple
fishing.
of last
Bob
couple of
doesn't
days,
fish.
the lake's been flat. But
The fish are safe around Bob, huh?
we'll wait till a little wind, and it'll be good sailing.
Good. And the grandkids, all good?
All good.
Well, that's good. That's good. We have a lot going on this month on the show.
Yeah.
We did take a hiatus, if you will, a little vacation ourselves last month. Sean, have you done any traveling this summer?
No. I was actually supposed to take a trip to Denver, but I actually got sick, so I had to cancel the trip. How about yourself? You been doing any?
Doing a little, doing some beach trips. You know,
those
we
are
went up
always
to
nice.
family went up to the Wells Beach area up in Maine, and also spent a little time down in Falmouth, Mass.
Yeah.
So got out to the beach. I'm not a big fan of the Cape Cod beaches, though.
Really?
Well, I shouldn't say that. Of the
Gonna
beaches,
say that on the air?
of the beaches in the Falmouth area. So I know the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce is probably a little mad at me right now, and the local tourist board down there. But got to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of.
What are
the
they missing?
Beaches. Sand.
Oh, they're rocky, a little rocky.
Yeah, very rocky. No waves.
Those tender
So I know
feet.
if you go up to like Wellfleet, beautiful beaches up to the National Seashore area. You spent a few summers romping around there as a younger man, and but it's a little harder to get there. It's the Upper
Oh, yeah.
Cape, but down in the Falmouth area, very disappointed in the beach itself. Beautiful area, beautiful town, all that.
just
But
those
rocky beaches with
sensitive
no waves.
feet. Sensitive feet.
Don't
Put
make
some
it
water
sound like.
shoes.
Do not make it sound like this is. No, but it's harder
to
to
harden those
just
feet
kind of like take a run on the
I
beach or just
completely
hang out on the beach.
understand,
It's harder to make a sandcastle when all you've got you're scooping up rocks. The rocks don't really pile like So it's just
Yeah, you got it.
the nice, beautiful, flat, sandy beaches of Maine. The only thing is the water there is colder.
Ah,
So it's a compromise, right? It's a trade-off.
always.
At any rate, enough committed. I did want to, talk. It's been a little while since we've been on the air, and so kind of like just a general talk about how we're doing in the local economy. You may hear reports about the unemployment rate being down.
Yeah.
It's continuing to stay fairly low, around 6,
been trending
hovering
that way.
around 6%, a little bit higher in the Worcester proper area, but
But is Worcester still going down as well? The state's average is going down. Worcester's a little
Worcester's,
higher, but
yeah.
it's also trending down.
Some of the subcurrents there, there does continue to be larger than average pool of long-term unemployed, which is concerning, and also a lot of folks that are still looking for full-time work that are taking part-time work to get by, which people want to work, they want to be productive, so. Understandable, but certainly in a little bit stronger economy, it'd be good for them to get back to full-time employment. So, and I do have some. I pull some numbers from our local economic snapshot report, which is on our new
New and
website.
improved website.
Why don't you take a minute to talk about the website?
So Jeff and I worked with city staff at the technical services team to develop a new website. We kind of had a not very active website before, but we had minutes and some information on there, but there wasn't a lot of updating and everything. So we
And
worked
also
with
the
technical
look of it was a
service.
little dated.
Yeah, definitely a dated look. So we worked with them, designed a whole new format. It's www.cmwib.org. We've got a whole bunch of new features on there. We've incorporated some social media through Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So all of our archived working lunch shows can be found on there, which
That in itself is,
that's from blowing up YouTube.
yeah.
It's just they've been
Blowing
having
up.
an overwhelming response of people downloading the videos.
Luckily, it has not crashed the servers
Not yet,
at this point.
but they've notified me. So we've also got some new reports.
Yeah,
on
we got an
there.
economic snapshot report on there.
Which-
We update each quarter, as well as kind of an impact dashboard, if you will, about what the work is of the board in our 3 career centers in Central Mass. But a couple things I wanted to just throw out there is that one thing that we do have access to at the Workforce Investment Board, and that we share with community partners and whatnot, is real time. Whoa! For those that can't on the radio, we just had a monitor.
It's a rough Wednesday.
A
today.
monitor jump out at me today. Please, I'm just reporting the facts here. I do not make up the facts.
I
So.
wanted him to see you.
Oh, that's what it is. We got the cameras in here as always from
Yep, Channel 12.
from Channel 12, Worcester Cable Services. So thank you. So at any rate, so we pull one of the data points that we look at is the conference board Help Wanted Online has a snapshot. They pull in all the different Help Wanted online job listings. So not only from the state online job board, but also they pull in from Monster, from Indeed, from all the major ones, and from companies themselves, their websites. They pull it all together. They crunch.
So it's comprehensive. Everything.
Yeah,
that's
it's very
out there.
comprehensive. They crunch the data. They try to when they see the same job posted in multiple places, they try to only count it once, and then we're able to go in and kind of crunch the numbers, if you will. So hiring demand in the state and region remains strong, as evidenced by these posts, the number of postings.
Sure.
Statewide, it's up over 300,000. Which is up from about a year ago when it was, down around 200,000. So it's.
Did you say this is part-time and full-time?
Part-time and full-time. The majority of the jobs are full-time. We're seeing probably the most job ads, Help Wanted ads for transportation, logistics, and drivers.
I was going to say, does it break it down by industry? Like
It
what?
does,
Where are
industry
the
and
jobs?
occupation.
Right now?
Yeah, so you can kind of drill down on the data from a macro standpoint, and then get in 2 specific job listings. So,
So what are some of those upward trending industries?
well, I'd mentioned drivers and warehousing and logistics, also RNs,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
software developers, retail sales are all up. So those are some of the areas that are probably most in demand right now.
And I'm sorry, did you say Worcester or Massachusetts?
That's
The state.
That's
Statewide.
statewide. On our system, we can go in and pull out for the Central Mass area. So, yeah. So we have some. So I
Interesting
do
stuff,
encourage
yeah.
folks to check that report out on the dashboard report and the impact dashboard, and also the economic outlook reports that we have on our website.
And
And
if-
certainly, if there's any further information they'd
Right.
like or further details, they could contact us at the WIB to help pull that together for them.
Absolutely.
So we have a special guest, our first special guest today.
Yeah, I'm going to get out of the way.
You're going to get out of the way. You're not going to help. You're going to pull up another chair. Or? Okay, we're going to welcome Peter Dunn he's business program manager for the City of Worcester's Executive Office of Economic Development. Welcome, Peter. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
I
Good to
see
be here.
you a fair amount of time whenever I visit City Hall and talk to my colleagues over in economic development, but never quite, had a chance to kind of understand the programs that you work on or what. This is a great chance to chat about that and get some more information about what you got going on over there. So
Absolutely.
why don't we start first with your role with economic development in the executive office over there? So what do you do as a business program manager?
I'd say day-to-day my primary responsibilities are mostly administering our financial assistance programs. We have some loan and grant programs that are available to small business owners in the city, funded through the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And then we also have a couple of programs through the EPA for brownfields assessment and cleanup as well.
Great. So I know that oftentimes the bigger companies get the news out there about what's going on with them, hiring, layoffs or whatever, or special projects they're working on. But really, small businesses, kind of the heart and soul of our city, I'd say, when it comes to employment. And so your assistance to them is kind of vital to their opportunities. So is it a new program that you're working on right now, the retail?
It's going to be the second year we're doing it. It's in sponsorship with the Worcester Business Resource Alliance, which is a group of nonprofits and quasi-government organizations in the city.
Our Career Center is part of that.
Absolutely.
And Phil from our office that we share with Economic Development.
Yep, quite a few organizations. It's actually growing. We've added a few organizations over the last year. They pretty much provide small business assistance to either entrepreneurs or existing businesses in the area. Some of them looking to start up, so maybe creating a business plan or a strategic plan, trying to take their business to the next level.
So really, from the inception of an idea straight through to actual launch of a business, there's different organizations that are part of the Worcester Business Resource Alliance.
Yes.
That can so the BRA. So interesting enough, if you Google Worcester BRA, you get a mixed bag of results there.
You'll find it. We do
have
have
a lot of corsets and lingerie and whatnot pop up on your screen.
Yep.
But what a great organization, or a collection of organizations.
Yes.
I have some friends that are interested in starting their own business, and I've personally sent them over. And I know one of the first things that we often advise them to do is to start with the workshop at Workforce Central around entrepreneurship and developing that core idea, and then how to plug into some of these other organizations to develop a formal business plan and access funding. And
Absolutely.
So this program that you're talking about is specific to retail business?
Yeah, so this one, it's something that we were looking to do through the Worcester Business Resource Alliance. That's kind of a collaborative effort. So it's a series of workshops that'll be each of them facilitated by one of the agencies, the part of the WBRA. And we're looking to focus on existing businesses in the city, because we find that a lot of our assistance goes to entrepreneurs, those people that might have an idea for a business, exploring the idea of having their own business. But this is a program that's really going to focus on the existing businesses in the area, improving their management practices, and taking their business to the next level.
Okay. I need to we're getting some direction from our producer. Is my microphone not?
What happens when you touch it? We're getting the ground and a bit buzzing sound.
It's the electricity flowing through my body.
Yes. Your power charge.
I should be on like Stan Lee's Superhuman.
Your power charge.
This man has the power over electricity
Yes.
right here. Okay, well I will refrain from that. Thank
Yep.
you. I couldn't figure out what you were.
All the hand
I didn't know if that
signals.
was like a standard radio industry hand gesture, but apparently it's not, right?
It was just invented.
Excellent. Just invented. So I will
Thank you, sir.
refrain so I won't shock myself or injure anyone in the listening audience.
Yes, that is
I believe the way
excellent.
electricity works, if I were to do that again and someone were touching their radio, they could get a shock. Do not try this at home. Okay,
Thank
so
you, sir.
let's get back to the topic at hand. So it's for existing businesses.
Yes.
And is it specific to retail, or is it just businesses that serve customers?
It's retail in the general sense of the word. So we could have retail businesses selling goods, or we could have just storefront businesses. Maybe it's a service provider that has a storefront business that has customers coming in and out. Certainly restaurants will be included in that as well.
Great. So it's a great opportunity for them to get training. Now, how much does it cost for business to take part?
The whole program is free.
Wow.
Yep.
So can you do you have a list of some of the topics that will be covered? Or?
We do, yes. It's going to be a series of 7 workshops on Monday evenings from 6 to 8 p.m. We got some feedback from those focus groups that that's a good time for the retailers and the restaurant groups, because it's typically their slow time of the week. So it's going to be each Monday at the Chamber of Commerce from 6 to 8 p.m. beginning on September 15th and then going through November 3rd. We'll take a week off for Columbus Day. But some of the topics that we'll be focusing on are best retail practices that'll be facilitated by SCORE, which is a division of the Small Business Administration. We'll have a couple workshops on marketing that'll be delivered by the Center for Women in Enterprise, as well as the Worcester Public Library, even touching on some issues related to regulation, taxes, human resources, workers' compensation insurance, that type of thing.
Also, some nuts and bolts to help people grow their business and work through some of those back office stuff. Let them concentrate more on their front end or their services.
Absolutely.
So, do organizations have to send? Do they have to go to all of them, or can they just pick and choose of the series?
We're looking to have people go to all of them. Certainly 5 of the 7 would be our goal. You certainly don't have to go to all of them. We realize that things come up and you could be unavailable at times, but we're hoping that those who register will be able to go to at least 5 of the 7 workshops.
And do they have to does the business have to send the same person to each, or could they send their marketing person to one and their accounting person to another? Or?
Ideally, it's going to be the same individual. Some of the maybe larger organizations that have maybe a point person for marketing, they could send that individual. But
for a lot of small business, that's going to be one and the same, right?
Exactly,
They just put
exactly.
a different hat on that day.
So yeah, we're looking at hopefully either the small business owner, maybe a general manager, some sort of key decision maker in the
and
organization.
again, all free.
Yes.
All offered through these partners that are willing to step up their time and donate their time to help the local business community. So how do people get more information or get involved?
They can either go to our website at worcestermass.org, and it'll be under business development. Certainly reach out to me. My contact information's there. My number is 508-799-1400 and at extension 242.
Okay, so either buy through the website or give you a call and go ahead and sign up for that.
Yep.
Any other programs that you want to talk about while you're here? It's a great opportunity. I know the city is doing a lot with economic development. There's a number of programs, not only the ones that you're kind of maybe in charge of, but like some other storefront programs or whatever.
Sure. One of the other things we were working on was starting to spark some creative interest in the theater district that has been adopted as a formal district in and around the Hanover Theater. So over the summer from June 19th until this weekend, we've done the Worcester Pop-Up Initiative, it was a previously vacant storefront at the first floor of the Bay State Savings Bank building, which is pretty much just also free of charge.
So yeah, talk to me about this pop-up idea. I'm just not familiar with it, and
Yep.
I've been a little confused when I've seen the phrase. So.
Sure. So it was spearheaded by an advisory group, mostly made up of the Cultural Development Office at the City of Worcester, Bay State Savings Bank, Worcester Business Development Corporation, Technocopia, which is a maker space in the area on Prescott Street. So it's basically trying to spark some creative interest in that theater district, whereas some of these creative entrepreneurs or artists, they might not be able to support a full month's rent, or a year lease, but we've provided this kind of collaborative space where they can use it free of charge and they could host workshops. We've had concerts, we've had just general gallery space.
So if someone were to do like a hip-hop ventriloquist act, they could pop in and maybe have some space to
Absolutely.
to do that? John, are you listening to this?
Yep. We did have some coordinators, and we're looking at expanding that program. It was originally supposed to come to a close this weekend, but we're exploring opportunities.
Is it
with
a
Bay
chance
State.
for them to market their like say I had a product or whatever, and I don't yet have a storefront, or is it a chance to maybe put a little table or booth together, or is that also part of it? Or
Yeah, a little bit is to just get the word out. So some of these musicians, getting their name out there where they can just kind of host a performance and then maybe attract some formal, concerts or gigs in that way. Or also, if it's more of like a craft maker, they can explore.
I'm
proof
thinking
of
like someone does like a
concept.
craft beer or something.
Yeah.
Could they? Well, beer might be a tough one
Yeah.
because of alcohol, right?
Yeah.
But maybe they do like muffins or something. Oh, actually, I've got a friend that he's a Nick Rosowski. If he's listening in the listening audience today, he's got a bread company he just started. Small, he's in a smaller kitchen or whatever, and he's looking to expand. He's looking for space, but maybe an opportunity to come and have people sample the wonderful fresh, that really nice.
Yep.
He's got different varieties, obviously,
Sure.
of bread, but wonderful stuff.
Absolutely. Yep. It was pretty successful, so we got a lot of interest and a lot of feedback that they'd like to see it continue. So we're trying
And is the hope to move it around to different districts, or?
It could certainly move. You know, we like to have it in the downtown landscape, certainly in and around the theater district, because it is kind of related to the creative economy. So
Yeah.
building on the existing asset of the Hanover Theater and continuing that creative economy push down there.
So while we have you here, how did you get to where you're at now? What's your background? You know.
Relatively new to the city. I've been there for just over a year now. Before that, I was with Hanover Insurance and Commercial Lines, doing some producing, processing, that type of thing for businesses as well.
Okay, so it's not, as rumor has it, you were on a professional golf tour for a while. That
No,
was not okay.
no, not quite. It'd be nice, but
That's the rumor I heard. I heard you're quite a golfer.
not that good. Well,
We're
it's
gonna
okay.
find out.
you
We've
know.
got the city golf, city staff golf tournament coming up, so we got big hopes riding on your
Pull the
driver.
team.
Yeah.
Yep, pull the team together.
All right. Before you leave, we do have a game we play with all our guests, and
Okay.
usually what we do is we have you play for a mug.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that you actually have quite a collection of mugs in your office.
Do I?
There's the one with the cat hanging there. I know you've got that one. You've got over 100 mugs, they say, in your area.
Is that what they're saying?
That's the rumor.
Okay.
You should see his mug collection. But so we're going to have you play for this beautiful bag.
Okay.
It was donated by Penta Communications. Suitable
Nice.
for carrying mugs, certainly.
Yes. Yes.
Or as you go to craft fairs, you can bring
Yep.
stuff. Lunch.
Lunch.
Yes, that's right. As the working lunch. This is an oversized working lunch bag.
okay.
So quite a lot that you could do with this, and we do appreciate the. We do, in all seriousness, we appreciate it. Is a beautiful, bag, and we appreciate the folks at Penta Marketing for supporting our show by donating this, as well as the mugs that we've previously given out. So here's your task. We're gonna talk about a celebrity, and
Okay.
one of her first jobs, and you've got to guess what she actually did versus the faux
Okay.
choices
Okay.
that Sean has deviously crafted.
Okay.
So the celebrity you're gonna be thinking about is Whoopi Goldberg. You know Whoopi?
I do
Goldberg,
know.
yeah? So here's your choices: floral arrangement technician, morgue beautician, beach parking lot attendant, or hair salon shampoo specialist. Which one of those four choices was one of Whoopi Goldberg's first jobs? Floor arrangement technician, morgue beautician, beach parking lot attendant, or hair salon shampoo specialist?
Well, I'm thinking it's going to be something interesting. I'm going to have to rule out the last one, and she's from the West Coast, so I think I'm going to have to go with the beach parking lot attendant.
Oh,
No.
we're sorry. She was a morgue beautician.
Really?
Apparently, she was let go after she put dreads on all the clients. What is that? Is that inappropriate? It was just a joke. She did not, in fact, do that. But you know what? For being such a good sport and playing, we're going to give you the
Oh,
bag
wow.
anyways.
Wow.
So you do get the prize.
Great.
We're going to give it to you anyways. That was a good guess. It was logical. You used some logic there. So, again, thanks for coming on. And just one
Absolutely.
last time for people that
Sure.
want more information about any of the programs that the city offers, and including the retail training programs
Yes.
that are out there. What's your contact again?
You can find out information on worcestermass.org or give me a call at 508-799-1400.
Peter Dunn, Business Program Manager for the City of Worcester's Executive Office of Economic Development. Thanks for coming in and talking with us.
Thanks for having me.
I think now we're going to go to a break.
That
And
sounds
then
good.
we'll be back with more talk about what's going on in the news.
All right, guys, it's all yours.
All right, we're
Take it
back.
away, Jeff.
Well, thank you, Sean.
And
So I want to take a few minutes to just talk. We sometimes get so busy with guests and whatnot that we don't have a chance to talk about what's kind of going on out there. Some of the bigger trends in the workforce and the workplace. I saw an interesting story come around my desk from the Washington Post, talking about how hiring has been picking up, but wages are
Right.
not up, and that's kind of a conundrum. Usually, as hiring demand increases, the supply of labor decreases. So does that make sense? As more
Yeah.
people get work,
Which would drive up wages.
exactly. So as more people get work, you're going to see more, and there's more demand for workers. The supply decreases, and so you're going to have an increase in wages as kind of the natural flow, natural order of things. However, what we're seeing now is, so since 2008, more than 10 million jobs have been added
Yes.
to our economy.
Right, which you alluded to this
If you go in
earlier in the
kinda
program
earlier,
with,
right.
with the
With the
jobs
trends
are
of
down.
unemployment has gone down
Right.
significantly, or at least the official rate of unemployment. They're still,
I'm in the
but
studio, we're
at the same
live
time,
right
wages
now on the air.
have not kept
Okay.
pace.
All right.
So we are at wage-wise, slightly over 2% per year wage increase, which sounds not too bad, right? Well, it's up 2%. But when you factor in the inflation, it's actually
Cost of
flat or
living.
slightly negative. So what they're trying to determine is, what is happening right now and
Yeah,
what's
it's
going
an
on.
interesting trend.
Yeah. So one thing that economists say, might be causing this is that, you do still have a large core, more than 30% of folks that are long-term unemployed. So you still have a pool of folks that haven't been able to reattach themselves to the labor market. You also have that large pool, as I'd mentioned earlier, of people who are working part-time that want to work full-time. So even though the statistics for unemployment are down, they're still applying for full-time jobs.
Yep.
And so if you actually look, and this kind of ties back into some of the analysis we've been doing with the Help Wanted online. So you've got these job postings, but you're still seeing a significant number of candidates. I think it's more than 4 to 1
Applying for the same
for
job?
the same job.
Yeah.
So you still, so basically what employers are saying is, hey, we put an ad out there. We're still getting flooded with people.
Oh, okay.
And so because of that, there's no pressure for them to do
raise.
that.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, we do hear about the skills gap in certain industries and how they're not able to find good candidates. More on that in a little while. I've got another story I want to chat about that kind of addresses that. But, in a lot of industries, you're seeing more candidates, multiple candidates with enough of a background that they're being able to be choosy without having to increase, the incentive. They also say that we've, as a society, as a nation, have opened so much up with free trade and the globalization of our economy that we're now seeing, we've gone and had a lot of either outsourcing or just in terms of like a company can now have a division in, a China where they're manufacturing their product or they're a supplier to their product, right? So for a while, our wages remained fairly steady, even though that new pressure was there. But as you've seen, the globalization of the economy, their wages are so much lower. Eventually, it catches up to us, and there's an evening out. So wages in China and other third world economies where manufacturing might be happening, they're actually creeping up, while ours is staying flat or even in some industries trending down. So imagine, if you will, a little thought experiment, Mr. Zukowski. If you had two chambers of water, 2 tubes full of water, right? And or maybe one chamber of water
Or maybe
divided
three.
divided in two.
Okay.
Okay? And on one side you had a blue dye in the water, and the other side you had red. Okay? And so in this chamber, on one side with the divider, you had it up here, and on the other side you had the red water down here. If you took out that divider, what would happen to the water?
It'd level up.
It would level out and become purple, right? So similarly, with the globalization, you had one workforce rate up here. You've got another rate down here. Well, now you've taken away all the different barriers to trade and employment and globalization of the workforce, right? So now you're going to see over time, wouldn't you expect to see at some point in the future, the disparity was pretty great. So, it's not going to happen overnight, but what you're seeing is pressure to drive up there and downward pressure here. Now, they say wages tend to be sticky in the technical vernacular of economists, which basically means that it's very hard to actually go down in wages. What tends to happen, I mean, you can do it when you have turnover, you can, but it's, while you might not give someone a raise, it's pretty hard to say to them, hey, this year you're gonna go down in your wage rate.
Right.
It happens, but not very often. More often than not, you get a small wage increase, or like I said, when times are not so good for a company, you'd stay flat. So you've got that pressure through globalization. You've got a pool of candidates still out there, either part-time workers or unemployed that are still looking for work.
Larger labor pool.
So they say that those are probably, the main culprits in that, which are, employers are hesitant. There's also regulation involved. You've got, for better or worse, you've got healthcare transition with Obamacare, and you've got some people worried about like future costs, and so, it's an interesting topic though, but one certainly that, it's a pocketbook issue, right? If you don't have, it's kind of hard to, as the cost of living goes up, if your paycheck stays the same, what are you going to do more? What are you going to do less of? Right? It's not rhetorical. I'm actually,
vacations, if you're
going
going out
to
to eat, all that
right?
extra spending.
You're going to spend less of your income that you do get in because you need to spend it on your, necessities. You're going to spend less on those other things. Yeah. And so you might be less inclined to take out a loan or to use your credit card because you're afraid if you're going to be able to. So that, in turn, has that cycle, right? You're out to eat less. Well, guess what? That restaurateur is going to be hiring less wait staff, putting on less, so now those staff in turn are not spending as much in the economy. It's like a vicious cycle versus a virtuous cycle. So these are the
Very
things,
good.
Bob, that unfortunately ramble around in my mind, right?
At 2 o'clock in the morning.
At 2 o'clock in the morning. So so just kind of it was an interesting story because typically in the other area that I really find fascinating is that wages tend to be fairly flat even in high demand fields, and there's different reasons for that. But in manufacturing, you're not seeing a huge jump in wages, but you are seeing an uptick in wages because of this growing massive gap in suitable workforce. Suitable labor supply, right? I mean, we talk to businesses all the time. Bob,
especially skilled in manufacturing. They're looking for the skilled.
Unfortunately, they get a lot of candidates, but they're not.
Yes.
Don't meet the needs.
They don't meet the needs. They're not there with the skills, right? So that's where, as a board, we're trying to really kind of figure out. As a matter of fact, we have a member retreat coming up for our members.
October.
So we're going to expand our usual. Usually meet for about an hour and a half to close to 2 hours. And we're going to expand it to basically take a half day and kind of go somewhere and really kind of hunker down and really do a deep dive on how do we help support businesses that are having a hard time finding the right people for filling their jobs. So manufacturers come to mind. So we have to identify where are those.
Who's having a hard time filling
filling positions,
Yeah.
and then what's their thoughts on what's lacking, and then look at what can we do as a system. We can't wait on others. The cavalry is not riding over the crest of the hill anytime soon. We need to take an active part as a partnership. Our board is a partnership. So what can all the different players that are around the table? What can we do collectively to grow our own regionally? Right. Let's take this stance. That's kind of our task for that day. That retreat is what can we develop locally that's going to help us locally. So. And one of the things that we're going to look at that no doubt will come up is the idea of apprenticeships.
Yes.
Apprenticeships as part of the answer.
Which has been a big push federally.
Yeah, it matches a federal push. There are some resources that are being out there. President Obama has made, issued out a fund of $100 million.
Right.
Federally, so and we're working with state officials on what can we do, again, matching it locally with our needs
Right. It doesn't have to just traditionally. I think
Yeah.
apprentice. When you think apprentice, you think of electricians, some of your building trades, but these were more healthcare and
Yeah.
some of your other.
Now, apprenticeships as
Industries.
part of the solution. Bob, you had sent me an interesting article about apprenticeships from the Wall Street Journal.
Yes.
On, did you want to mention the crux of the?
No, I'll let you go ahead. Yeah, I'll let you go ahead. 'Cause
You know,
He just
I feel
deflects
like
that
you
one.
know,
it,
you're the-
was last
let him
month,
run the
you know?
board, Jeff.
All
It
right,
was
all
last
right.
month.
You've been out on the
and
lake.
I,
You've
and
been
the
tanning.
sales
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
going, and yes.
So basically, the article was that apprenticeships are a useful strategy for closing those skill gaps where they exist, and yet apprenticeships are in decline nationwide. And so, any thoughts on why? So let's just talk about apprenticeships for a second, what they are. So an apprenticeship is basically an employer agreeing to hire someone and having a plan outlined on how they will move from level A, from step A in
Series
their
of steps,
organization to B to C to D. So now how do you go from entry level to mid level or
Right.
beyond? What are those steps, those benchmarks the employee needs to hit? And when they do hit that benchmark, what is that step increase? So, hey, Sean, you come on board with my company. We're going to start you off as a more beautician level 1. You'll be assisting the technician, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to start at $17 an hour. You're going to need to take these 2 classes, and whoever offers them, it might
There's
be
a
the local
training
community
involved
college,
to
it
get
might
me
be
to that
Red
next
Cross,
step.
it might be the American Morgue Beautician Society.
Yep.
A fabulous organization, by
Known
the
for
way.
their good work.
Known for their good work. So you take maybe it's a series of workshops or classes, whatever it is. It'll be outlined in your plan,
Right.
and then you're going to hit level 2. And at level 2, we're going to increase you from it's set. You're going
So-
to go from $17 to $22, and you know it, and I know it. Now you don't hit that benchmark, you don't get that increase.
Right.
We also, some companies will say, hey, we're going to pay half your training costs, your wage. And they might do that anyways. It's just now it's part of a formal plan.
Right.
And you take that plan and you register with the government. Okay?
So it's good
You
on
register
both
with the
sides.
Office of Apprenticeship. So so you know going in what
I know
your-
what my steps are, where I can start at, and where I can go to, what the wages are going to be along that path, what
What your-
training I need to
yeah.
do, and as an employer, they can map it out and say,
And you know
this is
what
what
you're
I
go-
want at the end step,
Exactly.
and this is the trainings that are involved. So
and
it's-
you know what kind of employee and your level of proficiency and where it's going to be in 6 months, a year, 2. And the nice thing is the employer works that out and designs it. So the government doesn't tell them, no, it has to be a 3-month interval or 6 month. They could say,
They
hey,
can
our
take
first step
ownership of
takes
it.
a year and a half, and you need to do this. It might be, hey, it's a 2-week program, and then you'll get here immediately. So I don't know all the ins and outs. I'll say that, but that's the basic framework for apprenticeships. So it really costs the employer some time and energy to kind of map it out, and then also there's a small rate. I want to say it's like a couple $100, a few $100 to register your program with the State Office of Apprenticeship, which is tied to the federal initiative. But you might be able to access training resources or other dollars that kind of far surpass that. If you're with an industry group, you can join together, and then, if there's 8 morgues that get together, 8 funeral parlors that get together to share this apprenticeship model,
Yeah.
then you could divide that $300 fee by 8. So really, I mean, the cost involved is minimal, and we're not talking $300 per person. We're talking as an employer. So apprenticeship seems to be like a very interesting way of increasing skill sets, right? You can also match it up with hiring incentive grants. So if you hire Sean, you come in as a veteran.
Yep.
There's a hiring incentive for that. Maybe you've been unemployed for several weeks or months. You may qualify for a hiring incentive grant for that. So it can tie in with all that. So, but yet, apprenticeships as a model or apprenticeships as an have gone down over 40% since like the 70s, and so actually over 40% just since 2003.
Jeez,
Does that surprise you?
Yes.
it does.
So let me start with what do you think's going on there?
Well, I think with the downturn in the economy and the layoff. Let's just look at manufacturing,
Yeah.
in which they downsized. You therefore have companies that may not want to use their resources to bring on new people. And they're banking on individuals walking in with all the skills.
Yeah.
And we're realizing that these manufacturers or the employer themselves
Yeah.
have to take some
But
responsibility
let's look at apprenticeships
themselves.
specifically. What industries typically use apprenticeships?
Building trades.
Building trades.
So you've got a few things there. One,
Downturn in the economy.
a downturn in the construction industry,
Yeah,
right?
people
Yes.
aren't
A
building.
huge downturn in the construction industry. And I want to guess that when those companies come back and put people back on, they may not put them back on utilizing that same structure they had maybe in place. What's the other, when you think about construction industry, what do you think of in terms of types of employers?
Independent, small contractors.
Okay, well, or you also think about bigger projects done by what type of labor?
Union.
Union labor,
and
right? So
commercial.
when you think about apprenticeships, most
Yeah.
people think of union. So there's pros and cons that come with that. You know, when I think of unions, there's a lot of positives about, you know, the training, the quality, the you know, the prevailing wage that comes with a union position,
Worker
right?
rights.
Worker rights and all that. But I think for a lot of business people, there's also that negative connotation. And if you're a non-union shop in construction or otherwise, so if you're a healthcare person, someone says to you, "Hey, why don't you start an apprenticeship program?" and you first think union, are you, you know, there's probably a hesitancy to
jump
to
right
bring
in,
on
yeah,
an
yeah.
apprenticeship program because you're fearful that might lead to some sort of union. And I don't think that's necessarily the case. Not at all. They're not attached at all. Your apprenticeship program, but the perception is there. There's also, you know, you do have to register with the state, and you know, a lot of business people, the last thing they want is another to be-
Involved with the state.
yeah,
Yeah.
to have more government involvement. You know, the government is the problem. I do find it so manufacturing isn't a heavily apprenticeship, if I could use that word. Industry.
I'll allow it.
So moved. so there's not a lot of apprentices typically in manufacturing, at least in the Northeast. And they don't want government in their organization, right? I do find this to be an interesting twist. But they have no problem coordinating with overseas suppliers from, like, say, China, who give them a great rate. Chinese industry is heavily subsidized and owned by the Chinese government. So now the question becomes, would you rather do business with the U.S. government or the Chinese government, Chinese communist government? And too often that answer is, I'll take the Chinese government, Chinese communist government. Now, I have a feeling if I were to be talking to manufacturing leaders and said, hey, how do you like doing business with the Chinese communist government? They would probably not view it that way, right? The framework wouldn't
Right.
be in their mind.
That's not how they're thinking about it.
Right, but you know, if you're working with a supplier in China, a Chinese company, they're owned. A certain percentage is owned by they're a communist system. They are not, you know. And you can debate. I mean, it was, and this isn't a right wing, left wing thing. It's not a liberal conservative thing. It was Bill Clinton, a Democrat, that opened up China in a big way through the free. You know, was able to utilize the. Basically, the free trade, most favored nation status was granted to China under Bill Clinton's watch and under his push. He was behind that effort. So this isn't like a liberal conservative thing. It's just, boy, it's an, you know, to me that's that's like an interesting dynamic that you know, government is seen in America as like the enemy of business all too often, instead of a supporting partner.
Right.
And then in China. But they work with Chinese companies, maybe not recognizing or realizing the role the Chinese government plays in supporting, in fact, owning part of that.
Well, because
business.
they're behind a scene, you know, they don't
Yeah.
see the Chinese government directly involved with the businesses.
I guess not, but you know, boy, it's so it's just an you know, so but let's bring this all the way back full circle. So I think that stigma around A, the union issue, and then B, the government, you know, in my business. Those are the two perceptions that are probably the biggest barrier to having apprenticeships. and yet apprenticeship could lead to a significant increase in the skill set to close those employment gaps that exist in those industries like manufacturing and healthcare. I will also say that, some people mistake apprenticeship for internships.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at an internship model, it's just for people in school, and apprenticeships are not affiliated with
And
the
there's
school.
no steps outlined.
Right. Oftentimes, an internship is just a one-shot deal. You might be doing things that are interesting and useful and actually helpful. You may be doing all internships on some level are positive. Let me put that out there. You're exposed to real world, right? But an internship where you might be doing lesser, more grunt work, more behind-the-scenes work versus an apprenticeship where you're actually doing, right? Some internships are unpaid. Apprenticeships are paid.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it, there's an education and training component attached to apprenticeship, but it's kind of a secondary thing. Like you work during the day, and then you might take an evening class, you might take an online class, you might go to a workshop on a weekend, whatever it is. But it's a secondary role, so your majority of your time is working and hands-on learning. In an internship, it's almost that flipped. The internship might be like full-time during a semester, but it's really part of an educational program that's more the full-time focus.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so it's kind of a flip in those roles. So
is there anything that you know of going on at the state level to change this perception of apprenticeship?
We're working with Dave Wallace. He's the director. He's on our board
Mm-hmm.
locally. He's also the state director of apprenticeship, the Office of Apprenticeship on the state level, and we're working with him. I mean, there are some resources out there. So how do we change those perceptions? What do we do? So part of that is that member retreat is an opportunity, and then I think what we need to do though is maybe establish some goals around this effort,
Yeah.
and then look at some strategies. Changing perceptions isn't always easy, as you know. Manufacturing is all too well aware of that because they're trying to change perceptions around their employment opportunities, right? Mm-hmm. So, who wants to go into manufacturing? It's dingy, it's dirty, and yet you've got these beautiful, fabulous factories that are with clean rooms, or even old school manufacturings that are a bit dirty, but hey, they're great places to work if you like working with your hands. So, all right, I think I've rambled enough about this, but I really do think it's an opportunity for us to look at something locally that we could take ownership of as a community of stakeholders that include business, include education, and include the workforce community. Right, Bob?
Yes. How do you like that? One-word answer, right to it. We're into the fourth quarter of this.
We sure are. I think we're due for another break here.
All right.
And then we're going to wrap things up in the home stretch with some fun stuff going on out there.
All right. And the folks will listen to WCUW 91.3 FM and the Working Lunch aired the fourth Wednesday of each month with your hosts, Jeff Turgeon and Sean McGauley. All right, Sean. What do you got for us?
So I had a chance to sit down with Roy Lucas, who's the youth specialist at Workforce Central, to talk about a new program here in the city. So without further ado, I'll play that interview. All right, our next guest is Roy Lucas, the youth specialist from Workforce Central. Roy, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Sean. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, we're glad to have you. And I understand you've been working on an interesting project here in the city, a new project, the Worcester Youth Leadership Institute. Can you tell us what that new program is?
Well, the program is a youth leadership program that allows youth to develop greater future leaders by mentoring them.
Oh, sounds like a great program. And where did this idea come from?
The idea came from a group of partners in the city that recognized the need for really building leadership among the youth within our community.
And who are those partners?
Those partners are the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce, United Family of Change, the Central Massachusetts Workforce Investment Board, the United Way of Central Massachusetts, and the City of Worcester.
And how many youth participated in the pilot for this program?
Well, Sean, there were 25 youth that participated for 7 weeks in this summer program, this summer leadership program.
And how were they chosen?
They were chosen by really the different organizations, youth organizations within the city, the agencies, really selected the ones that they thought were really the future leaders of our city.
So the ones that stood out to them, they recommended them to be a part of this program. They nominated them.
Absolutely.
And what was the age group of these youth?
The age group, they range from anywhere between 14 to 21 years of age.
Yeah, actually, we had Benjamin, one of your participants,
Yeah.
volunteering in our office, and I think he was the youngest of the group.
He was the youngest at 14.
Talk about good leadership skills. Shaking my hand, looking me in the eye, greeting customers at 14. I mean, it's incredible.
It was absolutely amazing, and they learned so many of the soft skills, if you will, and some of the hard skills of really leadership and employability.
And then speaking of learning skills, it was a 7-week program, and each week they had a different workshop throughout the city. Can you tell us a little bit about that structure, how that was put together, and maybe mention a couple workshops?
Oh, most definitely. Well, excuse me. Week 1, they were with me for an intensive 20-hour bounce and leadership workshops prior to even actually going out and doing some of their other things they would do. So they range anywhere between going to the state legislature for the city, the government, and it would be remiss to not mention Raquel Castro Carzini, who actually really headed up this project, and she would actually take them on field trips. They would meet a lot of government officials, the Life Science Healthcare Center. They would actually go to the city cultural sites, as well as just media and communication. So a lot of times they were over at they went to the city, and then they actually and really did some things over there, and then they actually went to the healthcares over at WPI, and then from there they went over to the Hanover Theater. T&G collaborated with us as well. So there's a lot of things they did, and it just broadened their knowledge and their horizon.
And these kids were interacting together, getting to know each other, making friendships that way, and then also learning about the different aspects of the city and some of the more important places in the city. Is that?
Yes, that's very correct. Absolutely.
And I heard you mention Bounce, and that's something we've talked a little bit about on the program as a new program initiative that we've been trying to implement here at the Career Center. Can you tell us a little bit about what Bounce is and your role in that?
Yeah, well, I'm one of the certified Bounce trainers, and really deals with life skills and how to really uncover really the next steps in a person's life. It deals with how to increase the verbal as well as nonverbal, written, and numeracy skills of an individual. But what I really truly enjoy about Bounce is it really creates change in an individual and really gives them a gauge on just understanding possibilities. Mm-hmm. And so it deals with some personal growth, some character building, some integrity building. But it's great from a standpoint of really helping a young person see someone else's possibilities and somebody else's vision, or what other people may think of of their reality. So it just gives them a different perspective on really looking at life.
I've heard nothing but good things from people who went through the program. I've heard numerous people say you got to get bounced. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I was saying.
So back to these the Youth Leadership Institute youth. What will happen to this group of 25 youth now? Is there a plan for follow-up, or is that something that is in the planning stages right now?
Right now, there's a committee that's being formed, the original committee, and it's headed up by Raquel Castro and Corzini. And what they're doing right now is they're looking at what worked, what didn't work, what could be improved on, and they're actually establishing that going forward. And so I think that this is going to be around for a while, and the city seems to welcome it, and the Chamber of Commerce, as well as all the other major players, United Way and the WEB, Central Mass Workforce Investment Board, seem to be really behind it, as well as United Families of Change.
And so the general consensus among this committee, among the partners, is that it was a success and that we should continue this program through other YouthWorks programs and however else we can.
I think that general consensus was that this was very successful and well received, and we couldn't have imagined that it was going to have the type of results, the positive results that it received. But again, the youth enjoyed it, the partners enjoyed it, and all the different work sites that the young people, because there was a component where they did have some work skill, where they had a job. So they all enjoyed it. So yeah, I think it's around to stay.
Well, great. We look forward to seeing the future leaders and also to seeing this program grow. Roy, great job, and we appreciate you taking some time to talk to us today.
Well, thank you, Sean, and thank you to the partners.
Okay, we're actually going to go out without. We don't have the exit song we normally play. Instead, we're going to go out with a video that was shot about the Summer Leadership Program. So it's kind of a great segue into that. So that was, nice job with that interview, and this video was done kind of an end wrap-up celebration and shown there for the students. So, are we ready to play that?
Yes, we are.
I should mention, Dr. The voice you hear is President Johnson from Becker College.
So my message to you is just believe. Believe in the art of possibility. And just know that simply because you see people like me as a college president or what have you, I did not come out of my mother's womb like this. Okay? I have a lot of battle scars that brought me to this point. And again, I don't think I am an above average person. I think I'm an average individual who works really, really, really hard. And if I can do it, if I can realize my dream and become a college president, whatever your dream happens to be, if you believe and you work hard, you can realize your dream too. It's all about the art of possibility. Allow your imagination to take you wherever it is that you choose to go. And along the way on that journey, as you're pursuing that dream, don't you let anybody take it away. Don't you let anybody take your dream. It's yours. And anybody that gets in the way of your dream, you move them out the way. It's your dream. It's your world. You hold on to it. And when life knocks you down, get back up. All of us, all of the adults in here, all the professionals in here, we have all fallen down somewhere along the way. You know the difference between somebody who succeeds and somebody who fails? The person who fails, they fall down, 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 and they stay there. The person who succeeds, they fall down, they get up, they fall down, they get up, they fall down, they get up, they fall down, they get up. And as long as you get back up more times than you fall down, you will be successful in whatever it is that you want to do. Don't give up simply because it's hard. Life is hard. Get over it. Suck it up and move on. Believe in your dream. Hold on to those things that are near and dear to you. And believe in yourself. And if you do that, the best is yet to come.